Good morning and welcome to the February 1st, 2026 meeting of the Sacramento Children's Fund Planning and Oversight Commission. The time is now 10:02 a.m. and the meeting is called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll to establish a quorum?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have Commissioner Ghaffari.
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Kravitz-Ritz.
Here.
Vice Chair Richardson.
Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Commissioner Volsey.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
And Chair Ruelas. Help me out with that?
Ruelas Mares, but
I'll record that. Ruelas Mares.
here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Okay, I would like to remind members of the public and chambers that if you would like to speak on an agenda item, please turn in a speaker slip when the item begins. You will have 2 minutes to speak once you are called on. After the first speaker, we will no longer accept speaker slips. We will now proceed with today's agenda. Please rise for the opening acknowledgements in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, Patwin Wintu peoples, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather today in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous peoples' history, contributions, and lives. Thank you. So I'm not going to take away anybody's right from doing the Pledge of Allegiance, but I'm personally going to sit down. So if you guys would like to continue to do that, that's okay. And then we can continue the meeting. So, yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Someday. Okay. Our first business today is approval of the consent calendar. Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on the consent calendar?
Thank you, Chair. We have no speakers for this item.
Okay. Are there any commissioners who wish to speak on this item? Okay, I'm seeing none. Though I do wish we had the follow-up log in front of us, but is that something that is posted, was emailed to us?
It's posted with the agenda, the follow-up log and any attachments. But if you want to request that we print it for you in future, we may do so.
I think that would be helpful, yeah, just to have it in front. I know folks have their laptops too, can easily access that. But without it in front of me, I mean, and nobody having any questions, is there a motion and a second for the consent calendar?
Before we do that, is there a way to skip that item since we're not looking at it to see if there actually is something on there that anyone needs to speak on? Or how does that work?
We'll move that to the end.
That'll be a question for the clerk. I mean, possibly, could you guys open it and we could take a minute to look at it now? And then, is it the follow-up log that everybody wants to look at or the minutes as well?
I think mostly the follow-up log.
I would say the follow-up log because I don't want us to approve and move forward if there is something that a commissioner needs to speak on. And I don't want us to not look at it and say that we looked at it. Is that cool with everybody?
Yeah, I think we can take a moment. I just, I do have, so just, I guess I should look at the follow-up log so that I can see where the pending items are that I requested in the last meeting. Does anybody have that pulled up?
I can pull up on my laptop for you.
Do you mind sharing, Commissioner Kravitz-Ritz, what?
Yeah, so there's a couple of related, it seems like, pending items, all of which are very similar around prioritizing funding goals, which I think is maybe one of our agenda items for today, or something we will start the discussion about. I'm not really sure, like, if there's anything different. There's requests from myself, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Thomas, and Chair, looks like, yeah, Chair Ruelas-Morris, all with the same exact,
I can speak to
Information.
a few of the items.
Yeah.
So I know one of the pending items was a question around the definition of fiscal sponsor. And that question did come up. It's no longer pending. That's been completed because that question came up in our GBI NOFO Q&A. And the city attorney looked at it and we expanded the definition. And so that GBI Q&A has been attached to this follow-up log, and that's under the complete. So if you guys would like to look at that definition. And then on the pending items, we still have a request for a presentation from Violence Prevention on there, which is pending with the Office of Violence Prevention. We'll continue to follow up. There was also a request from, I believe, Chair, regarding a mapping tool, which the city will continue to work with GIS with, but really we're pending more information from our quarterly reporting. And I believe there was also another pending item in regards to a meeting with the Sacramento Youth Commission, which will be addressed today. We don't have it scheduled, but we have options. And so we'll be looking at the calendar year, and we'll be able to schedule a meeting with the Sacramento Youth Commission. That was also pending. I don't have it in front of me. If there's another one that anyone has questions about, I can speak to.
Not sure if anybody has questions. I just want to make a quick correction to the request that I made because it says 8012 on the follow-up log, but what I meant by that was AB12, like the Assembly bill.
Okay, I think that was just a typo. We understood your intention.
Okay, got it. And then the one that I may be just skimming this really quickly, but I think we had also requested a presentation from the sorry, no, it's not its own office now, but the Violence Prevention staff.
Correct. That item is still pending. We've requested the presentation, but that office is very busy, and so we just have to work with them to get a time on the calendar when they can attend and present.
Okay. I mean, if there's anything we can do to help push that along, I think that would be helpful because we've been requesting that for like about a year now.
Well, they are city staff, so you're welcome to reach out to them as well. There's nothing that precludes you from doing so.
Okay, good to know. So follow-up log reviewed. Is there a motion and a second?
I second.
Okay. So motion by Commissioner Ghaffari, second by Vice Chair Richardson. Clerk, can you please, or commissioners, please unmute and turn, please unmute, and then clerk, please call the roll for the vote.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Ghaffari?
What do I say? Present? Wait. Aye, right. It's been a while.
Commissioner Kravitz-Ritz?
Aye.
Vice Chair Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Commissioner Volzi?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Chair Ruelas-Mieres?
Aye, yeah.
Oh, I'll work on it. Thank you, the motion passes.
So we switched up the order for the roll call.
I know. I'm like a deer in headlights over here going first. My brain doesn't even work.
Oh, okay. So you go.
We was a little confused. I'm not gonna lie.
We're just, we'll fix that for you.
In the order.
In the order. It wasn't alphabetical. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I will fix that next time, thank you.
We're both just reading things as they're listed here. I think there's a little bit of typos for sure.
Turns are on too. I don't mind starting, but I just have to get used to it.
Welcome to the Children's Fund.
Okay, so we will now proceed with today's agenda. I did want to take a moment to make a statement. I find it really important in the state of the world that we're in now to just sort of address, what we're here dealing with. And, obviously we're here to talk about the state of our community, specifically our children and our families. And so if it's okay with you all, I would just like to kind of like set the tone for that today. So I wanted to begin my statement by thanking the City Council for unanimously passing the Sanctuary City Policy last Tuesday, January 27th. And I want to specifically thank my Councilmember Maya Vang for her leadership on this issue and for her support and support of her colleagues, Vice Mayor Talamantes and Councilmember Eric Guerra. I want to state that what I'm going to say in my statement is my own personal opinion and doesn't reflect the thoughts and opinions of anyone on this commission or my council member specifically. I do feel, however, that resolutions without real enforceable policies to ensure compliance and accountability are not necessarily enough in this moment to protect our children and families from being forcibly abducted on our streets, taken from their homes without judicial warrants, or even killed at protests. It is important that we make these statements as a city, but it is even more important to me that my city representatives do everything in their power to ensure the safety and well-being of all the community members in Sacramento, regardless of their immigration status, period. I am and have always been a proud daughter of Mexican immigrants. I want it to be clearly stated that the work we did at Sac Kids First, in collaboration with the youth leaders, adult allies, and youth-serving organizations in Sacramento over the past decade to establish a children's fund in our city was and will always be the legacy of kids of immigrants. As I was thinking about what kind of statement I wanted to make, I struggled to identify the tone with which I wanted to present my thoughts to you all today. This is an issue that is deeply personal for me, and it is often difficult for me to manage my emotions as I speak about this topic. I am angry at the lack of empathy for human life as masked and armed federal agents harass and kidnap our neighbors based on the color of their skin and the tone of their accents, and tackle and shoot at and murder protesters in broad daylight who are exercising their First Amendment rights. I have grown to be resentful of the history of this country that was built by humans forcibly removed from their lands, forcibly enslaved, underpaid, undervalued, and always treated less than. I am grieving the loss of life at the hands of the federal government, whose powers continue to go unchecked after they bend and break the rules that were never meant to protect Black, brown, and indigenous folks in the first place. But more important than my personal feelings is the concern we should collectively have for our children and the youth of this generation witnessing what is happening in our country and in our community. Many of those who took to the streets last Friday for an organized walkout in solidarity with the people of Minnesota and the collective call for ICE to get out of our communities. You're probably wondering why this should matter at a local commission meeting at the city level, but I challenge you to think about how this is impacting your neighbors, community members, the youth in our community, and your own kids, and everyday people who you come across in your professional and personal life. I, for one, am one of those people, and we are here in this meeting, after all, to discuss the current state of issues that impact our children and youth. And if you haven't noticed, Sacramento youth are the ones telling us what they want. They are taking to the streets because they want us to pay attention to what is happening in the country and do something about it. They want ICE out of Sacramento, and they want ICE out of our country. Let me be clear when I say that ICE is beyond reform, and it does need to be abolished. That is my personal belief. Today, I would like our discussion to be productive and focus on the task at hand, and also be rooted in the real-time issues that are going on in the lives of our children and families. We should ask ourselves, how are we as commissioners positioning ourselves to meet the moment? How are we working with our elected leaders to stand up for all of our community members? And how do we do what we can in this moment with the resources that we have to make a difference? And let us not be afraid to say that a certain framework isn't working anymore, to pivot from business as usual, and to acknowledge the damage that has been caused from the current system and begin building something new that does work for us and our kids. After all, I think in this moment, particularly, hope and optimism for the future is really what is uniting us here today. So thank you, and I just want us to continue and have a productive meeting. So with that, I believe that we have a staff presentation. Oh. Commissioner Volsi.
Chair, I first want to thank you for your bravery, your leadership, for standing up here today and for standing on what you believe. As a Haitian, I'm talking about a person like literally like from Haiti, not someone who's from the States who's saying I'm Haitian. You know, I came to this country when I was like 12 years old, you know. And we've seen things, nothing like we're seeing today. As of recently, 350,000 Haitians were just waiting to figure out if they were going to become illegalized in this country just because someone said so. And, you know, after the judge decided, you know, that TPS was going to stay and those Haitians wasn't going to go to Haiti, I saw how these people were celebrating, how happy they were because they don't have a home to go back to, right? And the violence out here being committed by ICE is the worst we've ever seen. And you know, we're at a point where if some say that we're living in Nazi Germany, they wouldn't be too far off, you know, because what's happening on the streets, that's how it started. And I'm here with you, sister, and I want to fight with you because this fight, we probably don't like the two immigrants here, all right? The fight is a real one, and it's not one that's that we get to talk about or we get to sit on here and say, hey, we did something, right? That's beautiful. But what we need is people like you, myself, and everyone here, right? Standing shoulder to shoulder and getting into this fight, because I guarantee you it's getting worse. It's going to get worse. And my sister here can't be alone. You know, I stood for the pledge because those 350,000 Haitians, they don't want to go back to Haiti, right? So I understand the land that I stand on provide an opportunity for them, right? But at the same time, we have so much work to do, and whatever you need on this front, you have my number. Please just call me, and I wanna be there with you because your pain is mine. So thank you for standing up.
Thank you so much. Julie, I know you're probably wondering how to think your presentation is up next.
Oh, it's my turn? Okay, sorry. I was waiting for a call or something. All right. Well, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and any public watching today's meeting. Welcome to the first Sacramento Children's Fund Planning and Oversight Commission meeting of 2026. Today we'll be presenting an implementation update and reviewing the Sacramento Children's Fund timeline, the SIP third-year review, and a potential editing process. This is a discussion item, and after the presentation, the commission will have the opportunity to discuss the potential topics, amendments, or edits they would like to revisit as part of the third-year review. The commission will also have the opportunity to potentially appoint ad hoc committees to conduct research and make any recommendations or dive into review topics as part of the third-year review. So starting with an implementation update, the Sacramento Children's Fund grantees have recently submitted their second quarter programmatic and financial reporting, and Sacramento Children's Fund staff are in the process of reviewing and approving all invoices and reports. Many CBO grantees have begun programming, and most are still working to spend down the advance payment as of the quarter two invoice. The City of Sacramento projects have been issued funding after council approval in December of 2025, and the city and the school districts continue in contract negotiations. So that would be the awards for SCOE and SCUSD. We will continue working with grantees to complete the reporting, and we also aim to have a progress report summary for you all at the next meeting in May. Just as a little information, the next meeting at May, we will also have the auditor's office presenting on the CBOT at that meeting. The Sacramento Children's Fund also closed its RFP for evaluation services in December of 2025. We received 14 applications. After a review panel scored the applications, we selected the top 3 applicants for interview. Harder & Company was selected as the evaluator of the Sacramento Children's Fund for a period of up to 5 years and an agreement in the amount not to exceed $750,000. Staff will be taking the agreement to City Council for approval on February 24th, 2025. As well, we also have the Guaranteed Basic Income NOFO, which closes on Monday, February 9th, 2026. The city is on track to meet the proposed GBI timeline of starting funding July 1st, 2026. And we do have a full panel. However, we have additional space for one more panelist if anybody on the commission would like to serve. We do have a Sacramento Youth Commissioner serving on the panel. Just to go back to Harder & Company Community Research, who is the consultant that was chosen for the agreement for evaluation of the Sacramento Children's Fund. A little bit about their scope. As I noted, we'll be going to council at the end of this month, so their agreement is still technically not executed. But I'll share with you that we have planned to contract with them for 5 years from 2026 through 2030. With the intention to have them design and implement a multi-year evaluation, learning, and capacity building initiative to strengthen grantee performance, community engagement, and shared learning for the Sacramento Children's Fund. Some of their deliverables are to establish and refine a monitoring, evaluation, and learning, or MLE framework for the Children's Fund, to build grantee capacity through training, coaching, and peer learning. That also involves them, meeting in person and conducting trainings with the grantees. We have asked them to facilitate data-driven reflection and continuous improvement of the fund, and also to create public-facing deliverables such as dashboards, reports, and briefs, and to help us engage stakeholders and to help us produce performance and evaluation reports that are outlined in Measure Out. Okay, that was a little bit about our implementation updates. I'm going to shift now to the Sacramento Children's Fund timeline, and we're going to start to talk about the third-year review, as well as the potential to possibly edit the SIP. So I know this is kind of hard to read, and on the next slide I have an easier table, but I did want to point out that on the side here on the right of the slide, you can see that I have the timeline for the strategic investment plan. So those are the 5 years, the fiscal 5 years of the plan. And that's always a good reference as we're talking about how we'll roll out all of our RFPs and such. So we are currently more than halfway through year 2 of the strategic investment plan, with year 3 beginning on July 1st, 2026. Per Measure L, the Commission has the power and duty to review the strategic investment plan before the end of the 3rd year. And the Commission has the option to make recommendations to City Council based off of their review of not only the strategic investment plan, but any reports that they receive. So based off of some of the feedback I've received from you all over the past meetings, the Commission seems to have expressed interest in reviewing the strategic investment plan and making certain edits, changes, or deletions prior to the next round of the RFP. The rest of this presentation will center around our potential approach to that, and also hoping to address any topics that you all might want to revisit. So taking you to this easier to read key dates. This table outlines key dates for the 3rd year review and editing of the strategic investment plan. Please note the 3rd year review should be completed by the Commission. However, editing and changing the strategic investment plan is completely optional. So we did draft a 5-year plan that was adopted by City Council. So making changes to the plan is an option of the Commission. However, it's not mandatory, but the review of the plan for the 3rd year is. So I just want to note that any proposed edits and changes, if you do decide to make them, will also need to be taken to City Council and adopted by City Council, which means just that they do have the power to make any of their own edits or changes or adjustments. If the Commission completes edits and the strategic investment plan is approved by the City Council, the updated edited strategic investment plan will impact 1 round of open grant funding. The RFP would be for a 2-year period, and we have, approximately, which we are still waiting all the numbers for the rest of the strategic investment plan, but approximately $13 to $14 million to be released in that 2-year grant period. So, as you can see, the 3rd year review, which we plan to embark on, hopefully starting this meeting, would need to be complete by June 30th, 2027, which seems like a lot of time, but if you consider, I've included with you guys in your packets this presentation, but also a calendar that we have pretty much 5 to 6 meetings before the end of this year. And so the Commission would potentially review the strategic investment plan between February, this meeting, and next February of 2027. Edits, amendments, and deletions to the strategic investment plan made as a result of the 3rd year review would be incorporated into a final revised SIP, and that should be completed, if the Commission chooses to do so, by May 2027. With a final revised SIP taken to City Council for adoption in summer 2027, so that the city may meet their deadlines and release an RFP for open grants with a 2-year grant period in fall or winter of 2028. So as you can see, I'm trying to work backwards at the timeline of we have to complete the review, the 3rd year review by June 30, 2027, but we also want to align, if you all are planning to make changes, that with the next round of funding and the RFP release date. Okay, I also wanted to note that the Commission will then begin the next round of strategic planning in early 2028 for the next strategic investment plan. And that will be with the assistance of a hired consultant. Whereas this review and editing, we do not have a hired consultant to conduct that. I do want to be pretty straightforward with staff perspective, that it makes sense to make high-level edits to the SIP at this 3rd year review mark. However, I would consider that We will be going through this process very soon, starting in 2028. So one example that we can give is based off of the last RFP and other children's fund, if you all wanted to look at, for example, adding funding percentages to the fund goals, which I've heard spoken about here, that could be something that we visit during the third year review. I just think that conducting a complete overhaul of an adopted strategic investment plan at this point would take significant staff time and capacity without the added resource of a consultant. Okay, so I did include here in this slide just your powers and duties as per the SIP, which outlines the review, the third-year review, as well as the power and duty to make recommendations to City Council as a result of that review. I think I've covered all of the timeline, but again, understanding that we do want to complete the third-year review by June 30th, 2027. And then if you choose to make any edits, we would want those edits to be completed by May of 2027 so that we could meet our RFP deadline. Okay. So now we come to a little bit about the proposed process, which is this is just a proposal. And if you all have alternative ideas, those are welcome. So I did send an email out earlier in the week inviting commissioners to consider potential review topics that they might like to visit. Considering our timeline, we propose that during today's discussion, we discuss what topics we want to revisit as part of the third-year review. We are all taking a lot of notes. And the commission also has the option of appointing ad hocs at today's meeting to begin this review work and research. Considering that our next meeting is not until May, that may be something you wish to start today, or you might not be ready. In addition to the SCF meetings that we do have a few options for a joint SYC-SCF meeting with potential dates beginning in June. So we can consider holding a joint meeting in June and onwards with the Sacramento Youth Commission. So the proposed process would begin today as part of this item discussion with the commission deciding on topics to revisit or edit. The next optional step, which could also happen today, is to assign ad hocs by topic. The ad hocs would be tasked with working on researching the topics and bringing back information and recommendations to the entire commission at a later meeting date, including in May, June, August, October, or November. So, and then in early May 2027, the edits, if there are any, to the strategic investment plan are completed based off of the decisions made by the commission in 2026. So essentially, the process would be today and maybe at the next meeting, you guys discuss topics that you want to revisit as part of the third-year review. And then we have ad hocs, and those ad hocs can go out and do research and bring back to the commission their research, their recommendations, and in those meetings, public meetings, you all may then decide how you want to react to those recommendations and that research, and if you want to make any changes based off of that. So it would be a full table discussion there. The idea being that some of the research is done outside of the meetings to save time, and we don't get caught up waiting for things when we only have 5 to 6 meetings. And then obviously, as I stated, that after we make decisions about potential edits, the commission and staff would bring the updated SIP to City Council for approval in summer 2027, and the city would then draft the RFP based off of the revised adopted strategic investment plan and release the RFP for the second round of grants. I would just present one alternative is if you all feel like you only have a few topics you want to address in the review, we could schedule those out over the next meetings in May, June, August, and November without the use of ad hocs, and you could all discuss in the public meetings as a group. So I know that was a lot of information, but you may all wish to discuss the process. But again, reminding you that our next meeting is not until May. So it would be great today if we could also discuss potential topics you'd like to revisit so that we can work amongst ourselves and staff can help assist between now and May to prepare for those discussion items. And I'll now stay down here and wait for any questions.
Thank you so much, Julie. Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have any members who wish to speak or public comments.
Okay, are there any commissioners who have comments, questions, feedback? Vice Chair?
Good morning, Julie. I have quite a few questions, actually, just because I do want us to make sure that we do this, as we're going to call it, an update in decency and order. And I know that you mentioned quite a few times of staff. Of course, we want to make sure that we're being cognizant of staff time. Do y'all have a recommended way of how y'all would like to see this go? Just because I know we have the timelines, but outside of the timelines, when we're giving these updates, when we're making these edits, is there like any recommendations that y'all would like to give us so that we're working within confined lines? Or is it just y'all have from this time frame, we're just going to figure it out as we go? So I just wanted to kind of understand that so that way we can discuss what that would look like as well.
Yeah, well, I'll be really frank with you all. I'm here to work with you, whatever you decide, but in my experience, and that's not, there may be other examples, but a strategic investment plan adopted for 5 years is for 5 years. And asking staff to then reinvent the wheel in the middle is a lot of work that we would be doing without a hired consultant. So in our perspective, keeping the strategic investment plan for 5 years would be ideal. However, I can foresee high-level edits being, like, if you do choose to edit it, that's your choice, and I'll support you all the way, we will. But it would make sense for it to be high level and like, okay, this is a high level edit based on an emerging need, like the topic that was spoken about today, or just maybe not going extremely redoing the whole strategic investment plan when you're gonna start that process in 2028. So that would be my very frank suggestion as staff.
So thank you for that response. So high level in addition to research. So if there's something that we need to add and it requires some type of research, would it be best if we had whatever our research is that we got that from to give to y'all along with that?
So that's part of the idea of the ad hocs, that instead of like you all can sort of go out and fish for yourselves at the same token, instead of, and it's also for timeliness. So if you appoint an ad hoc to research for, I'm not sure what topics you want to revisit. But if you appointed an ad hoc, you could then meet within yourselves in that ad hoc, do the research and bring that research back to the entire commission without then asking the staff to do that for you on follow-up logs that then we can't respond to until that next meeting that may be 3 months out. So it was just an idea of how it might work. And then it's all of you bringing back the recommendations and you working together instead of staff working. It's not that staff doesn't want to work, but it's the idea that the commission is here to create the strategic investment plan and we're here to assist you in that. So I hope I'm explaining that well enough.
No, you did. I just wanted to ask about that, so that way we have clarifications, and I'm sure commissioners are going to ask their own questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, though.
Commissioner Williams?
Hi, thank you for that. I don't know if this is a question, but this is just some thoughts. I think that, to your point, we sort of set out a 5-year plan, and I think if we look at the report and who was funded, in my mind, there are some things that we could sort of correct on, like you said, top level. I'm also really excited about thinking about the next 5 years, about maybe a different strategy, but to your point, I think changing midstream now doesn't make sense. I think that the chair brought up a really important issue that is sort of what we're living in now. And this commission is to address poverty, violence, and trauma of our youth and children. And so I think we can think now in this next iteration how best to do that and meet this moment and what our children and youth need. So again, I think doing maybe a very top line and addressing the emergent issues, and then the next 5 years doing sort of a deep dive with a consultant. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I just have a clarifying question, and I feel like this was probably addressed in your presentation, but I was also taking notes on things that I wanted to mention. If we do make edits to the plan that would go into effect in 2027, that would be for the next RFP cycle, not for the one that folks are currently getting.
Correct.
So the folks who are currently getting funds have guaranteed for 3 years?
3.5.
3.5, okay. So, and then they have the opportunity to apply to renew, or they would have to apply to the, like a different RFP?
So it'll be an entirely new RFP,
Okay.
and there's nothing right now written into your strategic investment plan that precludes prior funded agencies from reapplying, but it is a completely separate contract. So there's actually 2 rounds of open grant funding. We're in a current 3.5-year period with the grantees that were awarded as part of the first RFP built off of the adopted strategic plan. And now we're looking at this RFP that we're going to release in, we'll say January 2028. And so as part of this 3rd-year review, if you make edits to the strategic investment plan during the 3rd-year review and have them approved by council, I've set up the timeline so that we would have time to incorporate those edits into the next RFP for a 2-year funding period. And those applicants would then apply for that RFP and be funded, and it would be a separate grant portfolio.
Got it.
Is that?
It does make sense, but I think I'm getting sort of like conflicting messages around, we want to discuss some edits that we want to make, but we also don't want to, we also would like to continue with at least the 5-year plan. So I feel like those are kind of 2 conflicting things. In a sense, right?
I'm not sure how to.
Or what were you suggesting, Commissioner Williams?
Well, again, these are just thoughts, but I think that we can do it 2 different ways. We can completely rethink, for example, we have 5 funding areas, and we can say, we can tweak it so we can get more of a spread of the types of programming. Or if we wanted to redo a strategy, we could do something like, we want to just focus on this area, or we could do other types of thinking about that. But I think right now we have this sort of equitable call for programming along the 5 areas plus the guaranteed income. So I think, I don't know if you all want to mess with that, but for example, when I look at the number of CBOs that were funded under mental health, which again, they're all fantastic. There's so much need out there. But I think the mental health bucket was the big bucket, right? That was easy for a lot of people or organizations to fit into. And I think that, I don't know what your all reaction is, that I would like to see some of the other areas also covered. So we could put some sort of guardrails around that to say a certain percentage of funding would do that. One of the things I think for the next iteration, I have a lot of thoughts about how to do it in a more strategic way that, in a sense, I feel like we've done a lot of really good work here, but it's a bit scattershot. And so the next iteration, maybe we can think about a more integrated approach where we're building sustainability and we're building sort of infrastructure for children and youth. But I don't want to get into that because I think that is a whole different concept for the strategy. So that's what I was thinking.
That's really helpful. Vice Chair?
No, I was going to say, I completely agree with Commissioner Williams. But also, I feel like I also agree with y'all when we're looking at this, since the January 2028 RFP would still include folks who are a part of this current RFP cycle who have funding. If we change something too much, then we knock those folks out, possibly, by changing too much, correct, Julie?
No, so there'll be no changes to the awarded folks. They've been awarded their funding and they will get 3.5 years per the RFP we released and per the agreements that we've made. Nobody is getting kicked out. The way that you all drafted the strategic investment plan, you asked us to do 2 rounds of open grant funding. And so we split that into 3.5 years and 2 years. And so we've organized our 5-year strategic investment plan, like internally, to do 2 rounds of open grant funding and 2 RFPs. And so that RFP, the second RFP, is not going to impact the first grantees at all, unless they decide to reapply and get funded again. It's not bumping them, it's not changing them. This is a whole new RFP and a whole new set of grant funds. And there's 2 within the 5-year plan. And so what we're talking about is, before we put out that RFP, are you, as part of the 3rd-year review, going to make edits to the SIP? If you make edits to the SIP and they're approved by City Council, then we would then change we would draft our new RFP based off of the new strategic investment plan. So that's all encompassed within your 5-year current plan. I think we should not think about the next 5 years, except to consider that you're going to start drafting that in 2028, but just consider this next chunk of time, including the second RFP of open grants, which is encompassed in the 5 years. I'm sorry, I know it's confusing, and I'm not sure if I'm making it better, but it is to say that the first round of grantees has been assigned their money, and unless they go outside, they are out of compliance or something along those lines, they have received their funding and they're not losing it.
Okay, so now, does that make sense to everybody? Because it's like, I've needed lots of clarification on that just to make sure that it made sense to me. With that information, going back to what you said, Commissioner Williams, I wouldn't mind the next RFP cycle having the revisions of the percentages. Just because that was my original, what I wanted, our first meeting. But that's okay, I'm not going back to the old stuff. But I wouldn't mind that, but of course, it's all up to us as to if we decide that we want to really get into changing and adding the specifics to make it more integrated, as you mentioned, so that we can have those percentages and show what actually is going towards what, because there was a lot in the mental health bucket. Great organizations, but if we can specify it down a little bit more so that we can really see who's doing what out of all of our fund goals, I feel like that would be a little bit better. But I did need that clarification that you just said. It is a bit confusing, but I needed that. Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas?
So, I'm a very, throughout this time, been very big on mental health. It's something that's really important to me and precious to me. But, when we reflect upon our kind of first round of, grantees, there was an overwhelming amount in the mental health bucket. So I think moving forward, I would prefer to just do a 20% split amongst all of our fund goals. I think that would be a good recommendation for the City Council. I would like to push them again to try to give us like 60% of the bucket for CBOs and 40% for like non-CBOs, if that's something we can discuss as well. The sheer amount of CBOs and groups that were applying versus our public agencies that are applying for funding, I think was extremely telling. So I did want to put that on our radar as well. And, it was interesting. Love our elected leaders. But, I feel like when we went to 2 different council meetings, like there was definitely a level of, oh, we forgot what we did a year ago type of situation. And I think that was something that was frustrating coming to some of the city council meetings. And my last thought is on the mental health thing. So one, yes, I would like to see it's like 20% for each fund goal, but I'm also curious because I feel like I want to go look back at the applications and then the grantees, but everyone was saying like mental health, and sometimes it felt just like a little too broad. So I'm kind of curious if maybe there is a way, as Commissioner Richardson was talking about, like maybe really specifying how we are defining mental health in the strategic investment plan, because it did feel a little broad, like a catch-all. Like, this is the easy thing, we'll put mental health, blah blah blah, and it's like it kind of felt like a stretch sometimes. And so I think my three things would be 20% for each of our fund goals, and really kind of pushing that, and then trying to see if we can have a larger bucket for our CBOs, because I really wasn't a fan of how much they had to fight for that little funding, and then maybe having a specific definition of mental health for our strategic investment plan, and maybe a greater definition than what we have currently, because it did seem like a kind of catch-all for the previous fund. I felt like that wasn't really fair to the other fund goals and other applicants as well. Other than that, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Did you say 60-40?
Yeah, 60% for CBOs and 40% for the non-CBOs. That was absolutely ridiculous, the difference in applications, when I saw that in City Hall. So.
Okay. All right, thank you. Commissioner Ghaffari.
I just want to start by thanking Commissioner Volsi and Chair Rollis Mars for your comments to open the meeting. With that, talking about editing the SIP, I want us to keep in mind our time and resources, and value what we do have in place and all the really hard work that we did. But also acknowledging the current state of affairs and how this affects our Sacramento youth, because things are really hard for some of our youth right now. So Shannon, Commissioner, what you were saying earlier about, really highlighting that somehow, I think is really important, because unfortunately, I'm not sure that this is going to be stopping anytime soon. And then to Commissioner Thomas's point about redefining mental health. I'm a therapist, LMFT. Clearly, this is something that I advocate for. However, if we can be more focused on what that definition means, if it means, social workers and therapists on site, or I just think that we could be more intentional about these definitions, and then that way just have a better idea of how we're approaching giving the money. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Kravitz-Wertz.
First, thanks. I don't know, Julie, are you meant to stay up? I feel like you're having to stand through all of this. Is this just our open discussion, or do you?
No, we have questions on the presentation. It's fine. I don't.
You're welcome to sit unless somebody, yeah. You're
I'll
welcome
just
to
join
sit.
you all
Wait.
at the dais.
Yeah.
No, I want you to stand for the next two. I really do. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Kravitz-Wertz.
Invite you back
Julie
into
was like, somebody please. Somebody please call me back.
So yeah, I think I have written down sort of four kind of big buckets that I'm hoping that we as a commission can sort of revisit as part of this reevaluation of the SIP. And so in my mind, these four are: first, the city public entity CBO split. And I'll just say, from my point of view, I would like us to start at least from a point of discussion where we had originally started as this commission, which is much more in the 90% CBO, 10% city split, and come down. And I know that'll be a point of great discussion amongst ourselves, but I wouldn't automatically start back where we had, as the commission, landed in the SIP, which was the 60-40 split, and then the city council changed it. So that was one bucket. The second bucket was, as everyone I think has noted, the fund goal-specific allocations. And I would encourage us, again, to think through how we want to meet this particular moment, and if there are particular fund goals where we want to sort of concentrate effort, then that might not amount to an equal 20% split across the 5 goals. And so I would just like us to have that discussion as well. Third, I think I would encourage us to revisit the populations that we would like to tailor some of the RFP asks and then our services to, and think really intentionally and deliberately about who really is most affected by what's going on currently, by poverty, trauma, and violence, and ensure that we are not diluting our potential effort by spreading the very good work too thin. And then fourth, and this is sort of a, I think a less critical point for us or bucket for us to discuss, but I would be interested in thinking through, as it relates to some of what others have already said, the specific strategies that we list in each of the fund goals in the SIP. There's usually 4 or 5 specific strategies that are listed, and I'm not sure that we leveraged through the RFP process or the review process those specific strategies, and they may or may not end up staying exactly as the strategies are currently written, but I think they do offer a little bit more specificity around, for example, what is meant by mental health services or violence prevention services. So those are my 4 buckets that I'm hoping that we, as a commission, can revisit as part of this, as part of the next couple months. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Volsi?
Thank you. Well, I will first say, like, Commissioner Williams, I agree with everything you said. I think we have a plan, sort of. Yeah, we can make revision to it, but I would love to see it kind of like stay pretty much, I mean, not the same, but if it's going to ask for like staff time or bringing a consultant for it, I think we pretty much have a plan and just seeing it through. But my question, though, was around the implementation update. So you all have been receiving, I guess, the reports already, right? Like some reporting already. Is there a way for us to see like any of the programmatic report? I mean, I don't really care. I mean, I do care for the financial reports, but like what the work that's actually being done and how it's being measured?
Sure. So I think at the last meeting, we attached the reporting templates, and we can send those out via email again, just so you can see what data we're actually collecting on a quarterly basis. And then we do plan to bring a like progress report overview to your next meeting in May with some like basically programmatic numbers to date for the funded grantees.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so in addition to everything that has been mentioned, I did want to ask City Attorney, is it Gill or Jill? It's Gill. Gill. City Attorney Jill, who's joining us, and I think we were introduced to at our last meeting, if you could provide an update for the request on the Prop 209 research.
Yes, of course. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Harbeen Gill, and I'm with the City Attorney's Office, and I'm your new support person from the Attorney's Office. I'm so excited to be here and support all of you. As our chair mentioned, we are doing some legal research and analysis on Prop 209. As many of you know, that is a ballot measure that was passed in like the late 90s here in California that states that local agencies cannot use preferential treatment when it comes to race, sex, color, national origin. And I know that that affects some of the work that we are considering here at the commission. So our office is doing, they have begun, of course, the legal research and analysis and drafting that legal memo. So I hope to get that to you within the next couple weeks. Thank you.
And so what I'll mention, thank you so much, City Attorney Gill. What I'll mention around that was the, request, we all saw that there are some gaps in who was funded, all really great programs currently, but there are some gaps in terms of specifically the Native youth population. And we know that, that youth population specifically has been very underserved and really not even considered in a lot of grant opportunities. And so that is why the request came. And so I just wanted to remind folks about that, because that is something that I would be interested in seeing added to, language being added to the next iteration of the strategic investment plan. Because if we do want to get very specific with our target populations, it is going to be helpful for us to have that legal memo and research. Vice Chair.
I'm not gonna speak at this time. I'm gonna wait.
Thanks. I guess it goes without saying that I did agree with, what was previously said. I think we should revisit the CBO city split, look into how we want to allocate funds to specific goals, and then see if we want to concentrate those efforts given the current state of our country, of our community, and then revisit language around target populations, we're waiting on, the memo for Prop 209, and using that to inform our language around target populations, and then also revisiting the specific strategies for each fund goal. And so I want to bring up something that Julie mentioned, because I believe Oakland currently has their, other cities in California as well as the country have children's funds, not all of them, but some of them do. And so we can look to some of those examples, Oakland being one of them, as, just maybe something. They have their plan set up in a different way that we do, that, they have a couple years on us and have seen sort of the benefits of their strategic investment plan and how it's been implemented and adopted. And so I think it would be helpful for us to learn a little bit from other cities that have been doing this work. Commissioner Thomas?
Julie, I'm curious if, you want us to be mindful of, not doing maybe too much without a consultant. Is anything that we've mentioned so far too much of like a drastic request at all, or no?
No, I think those are high level. I think it's depending on the process you want to take, and that's sort of my next question. I'm not forcing you into that discussion. Please finish the topics discussion, but I would like to hear how you would like to approach these discussions. You guys know we didn't have the option of ad hocs when we did this the first time, and that was with a consultant. And now we do have ad hocs, but we don't have a consultant. And so we just want to be able to facilitate as best we can. And so when you're done sort of discussing ad hocs, I think maybe also discussing how you'd like to approach it would be helpful.
Okay, very good, thank you.
When you're done discussing topics, then the approach.
Vice Chair?
Yes. Commissioner Craftsworth, can you tell us those buckets again, so that way we can organize how we go through these again?
Yeah, sure. So I had the 50-50 split that's currently in place between city and public agencies versus CBOs. I had the fund goal specific percentage allocations. I had the topic of how we want to target populations specifically, and then I had specific strategies for each fund goal.
And then just adding to that, strengthening the mental health definition.
Yes.
And then the Prop 209 research, and which is tied into the target populations.
Okay, so I write slow, I guess I should have typed. I'm at target strategies, the third one. Can you say the fourth one again?
I had so the at-risk or targeted populations
At-risk, target.
definition, and then the specific strategies for the fund goals, which I think could be related to
That's what I
how
was
we're
gonna say.
defining kind of issues.
So specific strategies of the fund goals. Okay. Okay, I wanted to ask that so that way we can have that written down. Regarding the split, is that something that we can talk about here? Some of Commissioner Thomas just gave his updated split of what he would like to see. Are we gonna go through these? I wanna know, are we gonna go through these one by one? We can kind of give because we have to talk in public versus where we can talk in public, but the ad hoc, of course, they'll be able to take all this information, but do we want to discuss this here, or how do we want to do that?
So I think that's what Julie is asking, is how we want to go about so I think what was proposed was that we create ad hocs that each discuss these topics. However, I don't know if that's the best strategy, mostly because there is at least 5, if not 6, topics that we want to potentially edit. And so I'm just saying that because I don't necessarily have an idea of how we should approach it. But those are discussions that regardless if they go to ad hoc committees, will be brought back to the commission for a full discussion. And I would think a vote, but I don't know if we're doing votes or, how to go about that.
If you wish to, we may add motions, I believe. Harveen?
No, this is just a discussion item, so there wouldn't be any motions for this. If we want to do an ad hoc, those would be done through the chair, either at this time or at the end of the meeting for other thoughts, but there wouldn't be a vote or a motion for this specific item.
Okay, but I think that our question is more along the lines of if, for example, at our next May meeting, we have a discussion item on the agenda that is the 50-50 split, and we write into the agenda item a motion, could we then have a motion at the end of that discussion to say, I'm not sure what the motion language would be, but essentially the commission will have a motion to approve the split as an edit to the strategic investment plan?
Yes.
In future meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie.
Yes, thank you.
So I think what we would have to be clear about setting up is like, pretty much all of the things we just stated would be future motions for meetings, but come ready to discuss the options that we would like to move forward with, essentially. Were you on cue? You took
Well,
yourself.
no, so I guess to the point, I was, well, just to the vice chair, I think I was just more of like, well, we can't discuss a 50-50 split now? Does it have to make, we don't have to make a motion.
No, I'm just going to say that we're not going to discuss that now because we have other, things on the discussion calendar. And I know that that is a big topic that we will want to come prepared to discuss more intentionally. So I would not like to have that discussion today.
I second that.
Yeah.
I will
Don't
say,
be stressing Lillian
I
out.
will say,
Don't be stressing her out.
I will slightly disagree with, I'm not, the selection of the chair and vice chair, I do budget my calendar from 10 to 1, and we don't have to do that for the commission. But how long exactly is the chair and vice chair discussion going to take for us to not be able to discuss anything we just mentioned?
Well, I think before discussing the 50-50 split, we have to determine how we want to go about how we want to go about the discussion of like editing the SIP. Does that
Okay.
make sense? We have to kind of
That
like
does
create
make
the
sense.
structure for how we're going to edit it.
Okay.
Because we don't have a consultant. To that effect, I do have a quick question, and I don't know if this is for you, Julie, or for city attorney. For the ad hocs, say it's like maybe 2 members of the commission or 3, can we bring in like a community expert, somebody like, say, for example, somebody from that works at the county that, maybe an expert in this issue area and to join our meeting and give us.
That's a really good question because my understanding of the city ad hoc policy is that city staff cannot be at the ad hoc meetings, but if it's like an outside person, I'm not quite sure. So let me look into that and I can send you all an email by the end of the week and see if that's allowable.
Okay. I think that would be helpful because as we're having discussions around strategies, if we're going to be talking about target populations, I would want to talk to folks that are Native folks leading Native youth organizations. I would want to talk to folks that are working with other populations within that target,
Chair, I'm sorry, I spoke too early. I have the ad hoc policy in front of me, and it says ad hoc members may use outside resources and individuals for research. So yes, you are available to use that.
That's a win. Okay, that's great. And so, okay, thank you for that. So I do want to use part of the rest of this discussion for this agenda item to either bring up ideas on how we should go about editing the SIP. Julie presented the option of doing ad hoc committees. I don't know if folks have any other ideas, but we should land on something either today. If not, we are going to have to wait until May, which is not ideal, but I think that if it takes us that long to identify a good strategy to move forward, I'm okay with that. Vice Chair.
Thank you. I agree that we should come up with something. I do have a proposal of how we go through that. I think that as we just went through the buckets, we just all heard what those buckets are. If there's another proposal of another bucket that we should analyze, we add that to there. I would love for us to take our meeting time and spend 20 minutes on that particular item. So the split, the fund goal percentages, all of the different buckets that we want to do, so that we can go through next meeting after everyone knows what those buckets are, and we can contribute what it is, the edit and or change, revision, if it has to, or why, whatever. Add that in there, so that way we can have that and have it recorded, so that way we can know what that is. I don't know if we can have like a note, well, we can, of course. We have like a note taker, so we can have what all those revisions are that we're wanting to do, and actually hear each other's opinions of what that item is. And if we use our time wisely, we research that, we take time frames to do that, I feel like we can really get through this pretty quickly.
Yeah, are you saying that we obviously have noted down the specific areas that we want to edit to then bring them to the next meeting in May?
Absolutely. So.
And have that May meeting be a discussion about each item?
Absolutely. So, and the reason why I say that is because me and Commissioner Thomas are ready to talk about the split. I already have the split in mind that I'm ready to go for, boom, right? If we're talking about the split, we're all going to have our different opinions and our whys on that. We can come to some type of, maybe, we can come to some type of decision of where we're where we feel safe with, what we feel good with. We know we don't feel good with the 50-50 because of what happened. Boom, we take care of the split. We got that one. We go to the fund goal percentage idea. Do we want the fund goals to be in percentages? We hear what everybody says. Then we move on to, all right, we came to a consensus that this is what we want to do. Because that way we're able to get them all knocked out. We're able to talk about it in the public forum, I mean, using our time wisely instead of outside. We can use some outside time too, but as long as we can get, for the most part, what it is that we would like to do and take care of majority of that here, I figure 20 minutes per item of that, that's what, 20, 40, I mean, so what's that, not even 2 hours. So if we use that and if we conduct it in a way where we go through each one of us so that we can have that and bring all of our information, use our time wisely, I really feel like we can get through what the revisions look like, because they're high level, because we're not doing anything that's too small. I'm like wording type thing, like we're not doing anything that's too integral. We're doing high level edits for this upcoming one. So it shouldn't take us super long to do that.
Yeah.
And using our time here wisely for that, using our meeting time feels like the best time to do that. So.
I agree, just with some additional comments. Commissioner Williams?
I want to piggyback on Vice Chair Richardson. I think if we can come up if we can start the conversation with some options, I feel like if we can make it concrete and respond to that, I feel like that will advance our conversation a little bit more. So I don't know if the chair and the vice chair want to do that, or if that's an ad hoc type of function, but I would be, yeah, I like that idea of just going through it and not getting into the document and the wordsmithing, because I think we'll get lost.
Commissioner Kravitz-Wertz?
Yeah, I agree, and I like the idea of being very intentional about, deciding ahead of time which of the buckets of things we're going to talk about, and, really trying to rein ourselves in with limiting the amount of discussion we have where reasonable. I would say, two things. One, I have a hard stop, so I don't know if it affects quorum today at noon, so I'll say that. But more broadly, I do think there could be value, particularly for some of, and maybe for all of the items up for discussion, of potentially having some ad hoc work done before the meeting, knowing ahead of time coming in that these are the things that we're going to talk about, just because it allows anybody who might be interested in collaborating on some of the research. I think the chair has sort of alluded to about, even for a 50-50 split or whatever split, we could look through what are other cities doing that have done this for a while? How is that working? What does that look like? And actually come to us with a little bit of a mini presentation almost. And then that would kind of allow folks to have a baseline to discuss from and build on. So I do like, though, not having all ad hoc committees necessarily run simultaneously so that, we come to the next meeting with like 20 different things to discuss. I like having, a plan like that in advance.
So I think, do you have any so I'm writing down again what we mentioned. Is there a specific ad hoc that you want to discuss to start today, between now and then?
I think one way we could, if we wanted to be a little bit strategic about it, I think we could look at how much time we have in between each meeting. So like the ones that we think, might require a little bit more time and research and bringing in external people, like the places where we have like 2 or so months in between, I think we could maybe front load those, whereas like we have meetings back to back in May and June. So like maybe that's an easier one. So maybe that's the 50-50 split, for example, or something, as opposed to like the target or the most impacted populations one. So I don't know. Some of these I think just might require a little bit more time, advance time. And so I would front load those either now and or in between the like June and August meetings, for example.
Yeah, maybe we can start to think about which ones would fall in which meetings. And I think that's a good place to start. I do have a quick question, though. Would it be possible to, I guess, request your guys' assistance at the city to do some of the research and present it? Like, for example, what do other cities do when allocating fund goals, percentages?
Certainly, to a certain extent, we could definitely provide, like, for example, I know we mentioned it already, but Oakland did just do a new strategic investment plan and RFP, and their strategic investment plan has percentage allocations. So we could send out other examples, but I would just encourage that is the point of the ad hocs, is for you all to do your own research and bring it back. But that's not to say we're not here to help. So it depends on sort of like how deep is the dive. We're not going to do a landscape analysis, but we could absolutely provide examples.
Yeah, I'm thinking because I feel like that's pretty within the wheelhouse, right, of doing, like, just seeing what other cities are doing, and maybe you guys are already looking at that. And so maybe that would be helpful to, in our next meeting, have just an overview of, like, maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 cities that have children's funds in California. What are they doing and how are they allocating their fund goals?
That would be something that's really good to add to the follow-up log, because then it gives us a concrete way to respond, a concrete ask and a concrete way to respond, and then be accountable for the response.
Okay. Is that helpful? I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking of how do we share time and capacity, because it would be kind of a lot, I think, to ask. I mean, obviously, whoever wants to be on a ad hoc and spend their time and do this research, like, please, just state that, and then we can create the ad hoc now, and, the work can be done in the next 2 months. But if we're not ready to say, like, I'm committed to, in the next 2 months, doing this research to bring back to the next meeting, like, obviously, if nobody's ready to do that, then we're not going to get there today. Commissioner Ghaffari. And then, I just want to note that I do want to move us at 11:30. Well, it's probably not going to take that long, but at 11:30, let's try to ballpark move to the next item.
So I just wanted to, I guess now's a good time, mention that Vice Chair, my brain is like totally mush right now. Vice Chair Richardson and I met about the community engagement ad hoc, and we talked about wanting to do a focus group with the CBOs who are already accepting the money, and gather information about how the money is being used, and this could be a potential edits in this SIP as well, to get their ideas. So yeah, just wanted to add that. Did you want to add anything?
No, you said it. Okay. That's great. We want to do that. Did you want to, Vice Chair?
Yeah, we want to do that, and that's our plan on doing that, especially for these edits, and we think that would be great. I wanted to also just bring to everyone's attention, I'm a person, and I know I'm not everyone, and it's a bunch of us, and we all have to make decisions here, but I don't want us to overload ourselves with too much overthinking, because I'm a person who likes to overthink, but not in situations like this. Sometimes you just have to make the decisions. When we first started this, we had so much information regarding how other cities were doing it, what happened, what have you, right? What I want us to come back to is that we saw the results. We saw the result of this. We saw the result of the split. We saw what happened. We know that we wanted something different to have. So I don't want us to get too hung up on what other cities are doing, but what we feel like Sacramento needs in our children's fund, and if it would be beneficial to bring whatever idea it is that we're bringing to the table. I want us to go there because, and I'm not a researcher though, so please forgive me. I'm a person, I like an in and out menu. I like a few things and so I can make a decision. You know, too much is too much. And so I just wanted to just really just reel us in and thinking of that so we don't overthink this. We've talked a lot about this. We are very intelligent individuals here. We have lots of great ideas already outside of the research that will be needed to do on some things, but I don't want us to get too caught up in too much information. That's just what I wanted to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'll just chime in and say that I think we can, I'll go to you, Commissioner Ghaffari, and then we can discuss if anyone wants to create an ad hoc today to work in the next 2 months. Commissioner Ghaffari?
Yeah, just wanting to second what Vice Chair Richardson just said, valuing what we already have in place. And I liked your words, like not overthinking things. And then, did we come up with a timeline for the focus group and like when we would, like I'm wondering if when we did that, like maybe we come to them with some like, oh, like these are our ideas and these categories that we want to, what, you know.
We said beginning of March or end of March?
Well, maybe it's still like TBD. Because if we come to them with some of our ideas for these edits, like maybe we could get some feedback too.
Yeah.
So
And this is for when we do the focus group with the CBOs.
those that are already receiving the money. We don't have to decide right now, but something to keep in
Yeah,
mind.
but I was leaving that up to, since we were working on it, when was available for you, so that way we can get with Julie and staff, and we can get all of the CBOs together who received awards, so that we can do this focus group.
Maybe after our May meeting, so that we can have more information to present about what we're doing
Oh,
here.
after May?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
cool with that.
Sounds good.
So I just have a quick rundown of what I think would make sense for ad hocs that we could establish today. So it sounds like community engagement is going on. And then the other one that I think would be helpful to establish today's target populations, looking at the language in the SIP, and then research around target populations, which would include working with the city attorney's office on the memo, when receiving the memo for Prop 209. So that would be one, is a target populations ad hoc. And then the second one I'm thinking is strategies, which would include defining, mental health, as well as the other strategies within the fund. And then I am going to request for the follow-up log for the city to do an overview, and I know we've done this already, so this is probably just something to bring back the same slide, is the how the city and CBO split 50-50 ended up looking last time, how many entities applied overall. Like I think we have that already. So just bringing that back and like letting us see exactly how that landed.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I think that would merits a deeper dive, because I think it becomes very confusing, the 50-50 split, because we often say 50 CBOs, 50 city, but really, from other perspectives I've heard, this isn't a personal opinion, people feel like because GBI is going to potentially a CBO, and because the 50-50 to the city was actually included non-city entities, that idea of what the split is confusing to a lot of people. And so maybe it would be worth the time for us to bring back a little deeper analysis for you all.
I think that would be helpful for the May meeting. So a deeper analysis on the city CBO split. And then also, if possible, just high level overview of, 3 to 4 funds in California and how they allocate their funding towards their issue areas. Oakland, San Francisco. I do this for work, so I should know another one, but I'm blanking. Huh? Richmond, yeah. All in the Bay Area. We love the Bay Area. Okay, so ad hocs, target populations, anyone interested in being on that ad hoc doing that research? Was that going to be your comment? No. Oh, okay. Can we establish an ad hoc that looks at target populations and works with the city attorney's office? And Commissioner Kravitz, Wirtz, anyone else? And myself. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to call the next one if that's okay, and then we'll go to your comments.
It might have to do with that, but.
Oh, okay. Did you want to, yeah? go
Well,
ahead.
I was gonna offer potentially, if for the May meeting, the idea is to come back and discuss the target populations and potentially what the city brings back in terms of the 50-50 split. I just wonder if that's sort of enough for that meeting, and then a next I don't care if or it doesn't really matter if the ad hoc's established now, but I wondered if it might make sense to hold on the other kind of 2 big buckets at least until June, just so that there's, Julie, you think that there needs to be some in-depth, just sort of discussion around the 50-50 and stuff.
Yeah, I think our proposed idea, which again, it's not set in stone, was to bring back sort of topics one by one so that you might stagger them so you have more time to discuss, because, for example, in May, we do also have 2 presentations from the city auditor's office that you might all have comments or questions about. So in the sake of time, that might be a good idea, but it's up to you all.
Yes, I agree, and thank you for bringing that up. Just the target populations ad hoc established today. Commissioner Williams?
I'm happy to be on that as well. I don't have a whole lot of time to May, but I would be happy to have put another set of eyes on it if that's helpful.
Okay. Vice Chair?
I just want to go back, since y'all brought up the split. I wasn't going to go back to it because I know that we want to do the elections. Because I wanted to bring up for the CBOs, like they all got a percentage of what it is that they asked for, but all of the city and public entities got the full amount of what they asked for. So going back to it, saying that it's not a split, when we're coming back with the information, are we saying why that is? Why city and public entities get the full amount that they asked for and the CBOs only get a percentage? Is that what we're going to be talking about?
So would you like that, I'm kind of, sorry, is that,
Yes.
you want that to be addressed?
I do, yeah.
Okay,
'Cause-
I would just add it to the follow-up blog, and then we'll have it, we can address it.
I think the request is to address it in the presentation. That
Okay.
is going to come in May, right?
And that specific thing, what I just said?
Yeah,
that would
which
be
is,
okay.
can we address how, the awards that were granted to CBOs were altered, and then the contracts that were given to city and non-city entities were not. That's what you brought up, right?
Like they were, I mean, and I don't want, some of them shifted, but majority of them got a lot of money. Let's just say that. So I would not like to know what the why is.
Basically, just like a deeper dive on the
Yeah.
grant, right? Okay. Commissioner Volsi?
Yeah, just to follow up on what Commissioner Richardson just mentioned, and I just wanted to ask a question here. Was it because of, there was a match by the city entities and not the CBOs? Would that have been a reason?
So the reason why the city and non-city public entities received a full amount?
Correct.
No, that actually wasn't the reason. So yes, non-city public entities, per the measure, did provide a match. That's just, but apart from that, the reason was related to, first of all, the 50-50 split for the open grant funds between CBOs and then the other half going to non-city public entities and city projects. And so when we looked at the funding and we decided that per the strategic investment plan, there was a portion that you guys said that you wanted to uplift small and emerging CBOs. And so in order to do that, because none of them had scored high enough, we decided to do a set aside for small and emerging CBOs. And in order to accomplish that set aside, we assigned a percentage of funding going to the larger CBOs who scored the highest. And so that was why we took a percentage off of those top ranking and gave it to the small and emerging so that we could fund more CBOs. And that was then still in alignment with the 50-50 split. If we had taken it from the city and non-city public entities and given it to the small and emerging, that would not have been alignment with the 50-50 split, which was part of the adopted strategic investment plan. So that was the reasoning behind that.
So what I'm hearing is we need to change that.
If we don't want to do emerging needs this time.
Well, so can I just, clarifying, so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, but I think potentially something might be helpful as we think about this. The 50-50 split is about the amount of money, not like number of organizations, right? So like if we had 5 million to give out, 2.5 million went to that one bucket, 2.5 million went to the other bucket. There were a lot less, right, applicants for the city and public entity group, and they still got 2.5 million, the half. Like, so we're talking about half just as a baseline of money available, right? So like, I think, so yeah, like if we wanted to ensure that like we allowed for space to have emerging organizations have an opportunity at these funds, then as was to maintain that 50-50 split of just the money, stuff had to still only come out of that one bucket, which is why potentially the discussion about adjusting the amount, the basic split is where I think is useful, because that puts more money just to begin with into the bucket where there are a lot more orgs to do the work, potentially.
Okay, so obviously there's a lot more work to do. We have an ad hoc established to do some research around target populations. I do want to move us to the next item, if that's okay. Are you? Oh, okay. Okay, so this item is receive and file and no vote is required. We will move on to the next item. Item number 2 is selection of chair and vice chair for calendar year 2026. Is there a staff presentation? It says your name on there. Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this?
Thank you, Chair. No, we have no members of the public that wish to speak on this.
Okay, so I think the way that we've done this in the past is we just like do nominations, right?
I have a little script if you'd like me to read it.
Yeah, if you have a script, that would be great. That's really helpful.
Okay. Well, good morning. My name is Rosanna Montesinos. I am from the City Clerk's Office. All the detailed information is in your staff report, but I have a few important reminders regarding the election of officers. We will hear nominations and vote for chair first, then followed by vice chair. The newly elected chair and vice chair will begin their new terms, excuse me, at the next regular meeting. Commissioners may nominate another commissioners or themselves. Please remember that a commissioner may serve for no more than 2 calendar years in either position. As such, we have Commissioner Ruiz Mars is eligible for chair, but can be vice chair. If you wish to make a nomination, please add your name to the speaker queue. Thank you.
I think just to clarify, I am not eligible for chair.
Not for chair.
Yeah,
For vice chair.
Okay.
You're still eligible for vice chair, but chair
oh,
you're not.
okay. Not, okay. So we're gonna do nominations for chair first. Did you wanna?
Chair, yes.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to nominate Vice Chair Richardson for chair. I think she's done a lovely job as vice chair, and just being on this commission and, seeing all the time and effort that she's put forth with a lot of heart and a lot of experience. And so that's my nomination.
I'll second that nomination. I think it goes without saying, Vice Chair, that you have been a very dedicated and active commissioner. And I think what I appreciate the most about you is that you are not afraid to ask questions, and often questions that I think a lot of people are thinking of, and that you are also very unapologetic in that. And I think that's really important for the work that we have here and the responsibility that we have to really ask the hard questions and get a lot of clarity on what it is, we're actually here to do. And so I'm really excited that, you've continued to sort of show your passion, but also your dedication to this work. And I think you'd make a great vice chair. It was honestly really great working with you the past year in this capacity. So. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a vote. And I took the liberty to hopefully fix the voting call, so bear with me. I try to do it quickly. So we are nominating Commissioner Richardson for chair. And the first one is Vice Chair Richardson. Sorry. We're doing the vote. I fixed it, so now we can.
I guess. No, just playing. No, yes, I want to vote for me.
Commissioner Volsi?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
An enthusiastic aye.
And Chair Rules Maris. I'm going to get this right. I am. And Commissioner Thomas?
Absolutely aye.
Commissioner Kafari?
Aye.
Commissioner Kravitz-Ritz?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes. And I just need you to please officially accept.
Yes, I accept, and I also wanted to say, I'm going to get very teary-eyed up here. Being someone, when I first stepped in this space with all of y'all, just because y'all have so much knowledge. Y'all come from this space in working, whether it be with your research, whether it be serving on other commissions and having all of this knowledge, working with CBOs, leading in the way that you do. It was a bit intimidating, but I am a Y kid. I do like to ask questions and I do like to learn. I do believe that I am a compassionate and empathetic leader, and I lead by understanding others. And so I'm just super excited that I get a chance to even serve with y'all, and in moving in as chair, of course, as I accept, I want us to continue to stay engaged in making sure that we're uplifting youth voice, we're uplifting what this commission's responsibility is, and we're doing the great work that Sacramento needs. We've been such a amazing, I think, groundbreaking commission, if anything, if I had to say it, just with everything that we've done just from our first meeting on. And so I am very happy to serve as chair. And I just want to just say thank you so much to our current chair, just because you have done so much. You are such a great leader. Like, you've stepped into this position with so much grace. You care so much. You've done a lot to even bring Measure L to even be. So I just have to just say thank you for your support. Thank you for always uplifting me, and even the teachings that you've been doing with me and watching you as chair. So thank you to the commission, and just thank you, chair, as well.
Now we are going to select vice chair. If any commissioners like to nominate themselves or someone else.
Chair Richardson.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Ghaffari. I've had the pleasure of working with her in so many different aspects of this commission and now in our community engagement. And I just think that overall she's such a great leader, and she has a lot of good insight, even the things that she brings up, even from when you first started. And we had already had the commission going, and you just started with questions like myself and things that you wanted to see and wanted to do, even in your profession, what you speak of in mental health, and just your overall just care. So I would definitely love to see you as vice chair.
Commissioner Volsi.
I second that nomination. Commissioner Kafari, you have been amazing all around. I remember when you first got on this commission, and getting a text from you just saying, hey, I'm new and just want to figure it out, like what's going on. Always wanting to reach out to make sure, not just, to figure out like what's going on here, but like even on a personal note, around like families and all that stuff. So I thank you for your leadership here, but like in the community and all that you do. So no better person to serve as vice chair. Thank you.
Do you want to go ahead and take a vote on that? Yeah, okay. Okay, Vice Chair Richardson.
Aye.
Commissioner Volsi?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Another enthusiastic aye.
Chair Morales Morris?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Absolutely aye.
Commissioner Ghaffari?
Aye.
Commissioner Kravitz-Ritz?
Yes.
Thank you, the motion passes. And if I get a formal acceptance as well.
Yes, I absolutely accept. It has been such an honor to work with each and every one of you and to learn from all of you and your backgrounds and your expertise. I think this is a really special group here, and it's just been, such a great journey to see how far we've come and the way that we work together, even, when we agree, when we disagree, all of the above, and to still be able to respect each other's opinions. It's just been a huge learning experience. I'm really looking forward to continuing our mission as we address Sacramento youth's greatest needs. So thank you so much.
Okay. And I just want to say that you're such a rock star, Commissioner Ghaffari, because you are very, very engaged out in the community, just outside of this commission. And I've seen firsthand just all of the work that you do, in your own community and for the kids of your community, and obviously your little ones who, as your family grows. And so just really excited to see you in that role and your dedication.
If I can just quickly add, we've seen you now go through 2 babies. I think that's really, really fun, actually. We talk about the children's fun, that she got through 2 babies in the 3 years we've been doing this, 2.5 years we've been doing this. So one shout out to maternity leave, by the way. Hope we get universal maternity leave in this nation. So really, really excited for you, and it's very, very clearly a pressing issue for you and the children, baby Cyrus, and this is this newest one as well. So very excited for the both of you. This is a truly phenomenal group, and I couldn't be more ecstatic that we're all here together. Would wish a council member and a mayor would get 2 more commissioners on here. It would be really great to have a full group, but very excited for y'all so much.
Yes, and just to reiterate that for the public, not that some people are maybe watching. We have District 2 seat still open, as well as the mayoral seat.
What is taking so long?
Girl, or I don't know. The next item is Community Engagement Ad Hoc Report Out. Are there any commissioners who wish to speak? I think we already.
Yeah, we already
got
set our report out.
Okay,
We wanted to make sure you were still here to hear all of this.
okay.
That's, yeah.
Can you just summarize, you said that in May you would come back with an update around what you guys wanted to do following with your focus group?
What we could do is come up with some sort of plan, draft, but what we want to do is, after May, actually start the focus group, so.
Okay, awesome. So the next item is member comments, ideas, questions, and meeting conference report. Are there any commissioners who wish to speak? These are for also log items. I think I already mentioned this, but just to reiterate, if at the next meeting, we could also get a presentation on a full in-depth overview of city and CBO split, and then some research on how other cities across California have allocated their funds. It sounds like we'll get an evaluation overview at that meeting in May, as well as the CBOT update.
Sorry, so I didn't have the evaluation overview on my radar. Could you expand upon what you're looking for?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I know we got a sort of bullet point of what the evaluator is going to do, but I'm wondering if we can also request them to present at a future meeting.
Yeah, that could be on the follow-up log. I'm not sure that it'll be in May. And we can also attach or send out the scope of services for the evaluator once that contract is executed.
Okay. And then we'll get an update on the business operating tax at that meeting in May?
Correct. That'll be presented by the auditor's office.
Okay, and then will we be getting any update on, so I guess the status of the contract with the GBI would still be pending at that point?
Yeah, typically staff does an implementation update at every meeting. So but it's great to have details of what you would like to see. So if an update as well on GBI is requested, then we can include that.
Yeah, and then the other thing I would add was that if we can, a report back for the target populations ad hoc, like a specific agenda item for that.
Yeah, we can do a ad hoc report out on the agenda.
Okay. Commissioner Kravitz-Wertz?
Yes, I just had two things. One was related to that so that we can potentially put the ad hoc, I don't know if that means having the report out allows for us to have a vote on that. Is that what that enables?
Yes, that would be a question. I'm looking at you. So do we have an ad hoc established, or what do we need to do to establish that?
I can confirm with our city clerk, but wasn't the ad hoc established during item 3 of our agenda or discussion item 1? I took notes that the ad hoc was established, but Rosanna, if we want, we can do another formal establishment here in this moment.
I feel like it was established there with the chair as well.
Okay, perfect. So yes, we do have an ad hoc, and as our commission member says, we can have a report out on the ad hoc, or depending on how the agenda is made up with staff, there could be a discussion item as well.
Cool, awesome. So I would potentially hope that we could have it as a discussion item, so we could actually vote on it and then move on, I think, as a commission, to now Chair's point about let's not overthink things and work through it. Cool. My second thing was just thinking ahead similarly. I know Julie and city staff have been reaching out to the Office of Violence Prevention, and I just think, like, if we could have them come talk to us before we have a more in-depth discussion and vote on things like the split of the strategies and even the more specific strategies themselves, like that would help inform kind of what else is happening, particularly around one of our core fund goal areas, which is violence prevention. And if we want to be smart with our funding and not duplicative in our effort, it would just be really, really beneficial to just have them come talk to us about what they're doing. So I would just maybe we can all sort of double down in the rationale for what we want to, why we want them to come talk to us. It's not just we're sort of, looking forward to seeing them or anything. So thank you.
Chair Richardson?
I was just going to say, just to piggyback on what Commissioner Kravitz-Wertz said, like, what if we just came up with some questions, since it appears that, I don't want to say that we're not worth the time, but it's been on the log for a minute. So is there a way that we can come up with some questions that we would like asked? I know that you said that we can reach out to city staff, but in our time here, when we can add those particular items to the log, we've done so. And so now, since we haven't heard back, would it be best for us to come up with questions that we would like answered so we can have them answered here on the dais?
You mean when they come to present, or?
Because I think it's been on log for a good amount of time at this point. So would it be best for us to come up with questions that we would like to ask that would help us with focusing our conversation as we move forward?
Yeah, I think, that couldn't hurt, and I can certainly present those questions to them.
Mm-hmm. So I would say, as a commission, just because I'm just being realistic, at this point, we're about to start making revisions, right? We want to get this done. And they haven't been able to be available to come present to us. Do we have some questions right now, or is that something everyone would like to think about?
What I think might be helpful in this case is if we do that, is if maybe Julie, your office can help us with just, because I know we have some rules around, we can't all be in an email thread together, but like, say if you were to collect questions from us like you just did, all BCC, could we do it that way?
I would have to publish. I'm looking at city attorney, but any information that we collect outside of off the dais, then I would then have to publish at the next meeting. It has to be made public. So yeah, if you all would like to send your questions for violence prevention, I can collect those and publish them at the next meeting.
Yeah, I
And
think
include them in the request too.
the timeline of that, I feel like, should be within the next month, though, and then present them at the next meeting, because what we want is to be able to collect the questions that you can share with the office so that they can reference what we actually want them to present on, and give them, I guess, a more tangible idea of like what questions we have.
Can we just talk about that now? Because I don't think that's
I mean, we can talk about it now. Yeah, if folks want to come up, I know you're, yeah. Do you have questions that you want to bring up, Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, I'm curious their funding strategy and what their goals are for, I know they have a grantee process. And so I would love to hear their thoughts about how we can augment that or support that so the strategies aren't being conducted in silos. So that's really what I'm curious about.
Yeah, my question would be centered around their budget and how that is sort of, yeah, how is that split up? You know, how much is going to, because I know that for the Children's Fund, we have a set 10% for admin. But I think it would be helpful to kind of understand their budget and sort of this grant, and also the grant budget. And like Commissioner Williams said, how their strategies are written and how that in practice shows up in the grants that they award. And then potentially, you know, I know their RFPs are public, obviously, but if we could review some of those, I think that would be helpful. Commissioner Kravitz.
Yeah, I'll just second. I agree about knowing a little bit more about their overarching strategy for how they're thinking about their RFP process, how they're thinking about allocating potential new funding streams. I know they put out an RFP in anticipation of potentially getting funding from the state CalVIP funds. So I'd be interested in just hearing some of that. But I'm also interested in hearing more generally about their approach to violence prevention, how they think about interfacing or not with with law enforcement, potentially with immigration enforcement, how that interfaces with their grantees. I would just like them to talk through some of that publicly, since I think it has been, since they are housed within the police department and yet say that they are focused on community-based and non-punitive approaches. And so I would just like them to talk through that thinking and their overall approach.
Okay, any other comments or questions for the staff to take note of for, what is it called, the office?
Office of Violence Prevention.
Okay, simple. Yep, I should have known that.
OVP.
OVP, got it. All right, well, if there are no questions or additional comments, this concludes today's agenda, and thank you everyone for your participation. This meeting is adjourned. I hate doing that. No more.